Hello, I'm Dave Mowitz, and welcome to Successful Farming. You know, this program marks the start of the 14th season of the show, and the Successful Farming family wants to thank you for inviting us into your home each week. Now, on to the show. On today's program, we introduce an exciting new addition to the show. Successful Farming's crop technology editor, Gil Gullickson, presents the Weeds Playbook. For this edition of Weeds Playbook, Gil covers planting green, which is the practice of planting into standing cover crops. On Steel Deals, I'm tracking the sale of one of the hottest pieces of equipment on the market today, John Deere RX track tractors. The Shark Farmer is back with his unique perspective on agriculture. After these brief messages, I return to take you on a tour of Kevin Glanz's shop in Northeast Iowa. So please stay tuned. Today on Top Shop Tours, I've traveled to Manchester, Iowa, in the northeast part of that state, to visit with Kevin Glanz about the shop of his dreams. A strategic thinker, Kevin put a lot of thought into the type of structure that would best fit his operation, as well as his pocketbook. Let's go talk to Kevin about the shop. Well, Kevin, started out with, you put the building up in 2011, right?
In the fall of 2011, yeah.
And what'd you settle on the size?
It ended up being a 64 by 80.
Right.
It was started out as a 60 by 80, but I wanted a 40-foot overhead door. We had to compromise on that a little bit just because of the sidewall height. Mm-hmm. And so we actually cut the door down 4 foot to a 36-footer and then made the building 4 foot wider. So that how you kind of came up with an odd number of 64.
But you were explaining to me you had the vaulted ceiling. How did that all work, and what was the advantages, the combination you came up with?
Well, going through the thought process of building the shop and then the expense side of building the shop, it was going to be $9,000 more to go 2 foot taller with the whole building. And where I could put my door on the gable end, I could actually get a 17-foot opening on a 16-foot sidewall, and that worked great for me. I really didn't need to go any higher with the machinery I have or the machinery I planned on having. Mm-hmm. Then once you got inside of the building, the vaulted ceiling gives me about a 4.5 foot more space for my radiant heater to go up and over the top of all my tractor cabs and everything. And then it also helps with the air circulation, because as your warm air rises, the vaulted ceiling takes it and it goes up to the peak. And if you've noticed, I got 4 ceiling fans down the middle, and that gives you a circular motion of your air movement.
This is the third shop we featured on the show that uses fiberglass covered walls. The advantage to this covering are numerous, Kevin points out. You strove for energy efficiency on the entire structure. You did a lot of work and research into this, and one of the things you did, you went with an EPS building.
Yes.
And describe that construction style.
The EPS building is a styrofoam sandwiched between 2 pieces of plywood.
Right.
And you can go 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 inch. You can actually make it as thick as you want. It's very versatile. And I settled on the 8-inch styrofoam, and it was equal to a 32 R value.
R32 on the sidewalls? On
the sidewalls, yep. And then underneath the cement, we went with the 2-inch pink solid, so that we've got 2 inches of foam underneath 8 inches of cement.
Right, and that's across the entire floor.
Yep, right. The whole floor has it. Actually then with the radiant tube and with the way it heats objects is in the wintertime when as things cool down, that tube comes on and actually heats the cement mass, and it goes down, hits the styrofoam, comes back up, and then I'm getting this type of an effect as far as heating.
You're radiating heat both from the tube, as well as off the floor when it heats coming up. Yep, because so that you do have a nice work zone when you're here. Yep. In the winter, you don't have cold feet.
No, never have cold feet in here, and I saved the money as far as putting in floor heat.
Well, and that's just it. You know, there's still the debate, although we seem to see almost everybody going to in-floor heat. here's the alternative to it. And you say your heating costs on this shop are really not that much.
Well, that was my goal. I wanted to build an energy efficient building. The philosophy I went by is you build the building once, you heat it forever.
Here's a great idea we found at Kevin's shop. He installed lights on his main door. They can be used to light the sides and even the bottoms of equipment. Plus, when he opens the door, it creates a lighted outdoor work area.
Well, with a hydraulic door that goes out, it's really twofold. We put the same bank of lights on the door so that maybe in the summertime, if you want to work on something outside, you can raise that door out. It extends the distance, the size of your shop by 17 feet, and you can work out there on the approach, and it'll be fully lit.
Wow.
Or also, if you want to work underneath something, they're the only side lights I have, so if you're underneath the combine or something like that, you can kind of park it in the right spot and turn them on, and you get a nice shine underneath something.
I bet you do.
So you can kind of use it either way, just with a little planning and that. But no, I really like my door lights.
While not working on this show or writing for Successful Farming magazine, I'm editor of a farm machinery collector publication called the Ageless Iron Almanac. Now, my appreciation for agriculture's proud past is what makes Kevin's use of seed sacks to dress up his shop so appealing to me.
You need an office area, and then you need the restroom area and then I've got a utility room where the waterworks and the air compressor is to kind of keep that off by its side and that. And then the upper part, I put the loft there, and I've been in shops where they just put a loft up and you could see
everything.
So we actually built a wall up there, and it's just a studded wall. And then I kind of got into collecting seed corn sacks.
Yeah.
I had a few of my own and kind of got started, and then when I get around, I go to an antique store here and there once in a while and look around. And so I really have kind of focused in on Iowa companies. And I'm just amazed at how many family companies there were growing seed corn when it first came on the scene.
Oh yeah, it really makes that part of the shop kind of special too when you walk in.
Yeah,
it really is. And then you had the red board.
Yes.
There's a story there.
Well, there's a little story there. When we were growing up, my dad would never buy steel for the buildings, and we repainted our buildings every 5 years. He would buy cans and 5-gallon buckets, not just gallon buckets. 5-gallon buckets of red paint, and we scraped and we painted red buildings and white trim. And that was one thing my dad always thought a farm really looked nice if it had red buildings and white trim. So that was really instilled in me. Yeah. So when I finished off my office area on the outside that faces the shop area, that was the year actually that my dad had went into the hospital in the later part of 11 and early 12 and passed away. And I kind of just did that in memory of my dad, that when I look at that, I remember all the years that I painted beside him, red buildings and white trim.
Kevin's success in building the shop of his dreams was working with a well-known and reputable contractor. My advice is to do the same if you erect a structure, whether that's a shop, machine storage, or a livestock building. A reputable and knowledgeable contractor will not only advise you on how to get the most bang for your buck, but will be standing behind his building years later if an issue arises. I'll see you next time on another Top Shop Tour. Join me at auction to see what a low-hour John Deere 9620 RX sells for. The RXs were introduced in 2016 and have taken tractor sales by storm. And the tractor selling today is a 620 horsepower king of the hill for Deere in their tractor market. And then Gil Gullickson explains how to plant into standing cover crops on his Weeds Playbook report. All that and more after these brief messages. The hottest pieces of machinery in today's market are 4-track tractors. Case IH first capitalized on the popularity of such tractors when they introduced their quad-track tractors. Deere didn't miss the success of the quad tracks. Big Green introduced their own 4-track tractors back in 2016. Since then, the RXs have been dominating John Deere 4-wheel drive sales. The sales experts report that Deere RXs are bringing record prices of late. That is why I'm tracking the sale of these two 9620 RXs at a massive consignment sale being held by Sullivan Brothers. Up for sale today is a 2019 9620 RX with 511 hours and a 2018 9620 RX with 557 hours. I have to wonder, these two tractors are nearly identical and their hours are so close. Will age have an influence on their final bids? Otherwise, they're equipped about the same. 5 hydraulic outlets fed by a 59 gallon per minute pump, 36-inch camisole tracks, cab suspension, LED lights, premium cabs with refrigerators, and extended powertrain warranties. Hey, we're talking to Matt Sullivan with the Sullivan Group. Matt, we're looking at those Deere 9620s, RXs. There's a 19 and 18, just over 500 hours. Wow, those are premium tractors.
Yes, they are. They're the big ones.
Those particular tractors, they've become premium tractors now. Is it guys that want to add to, or they're looking to trade away from their tired 4-wheel drives and they want to go with the 4-track tractor?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. There's definitely the quad, the 4-track tractor has always had a huge market share in the big 4-wheel drive industry. Right. And I think that when John Deere came into it, the guys that have been wanting one forever really stepped up to the plate. There's still the wheeled ones, there's still 2 tracks and now 4 tracks, and they're just high dollar tractors, and I think guys know that they can come to an auction and buy a tractor and either keep theirs or sell it and get into a really nice late model 9620 RX for a good price for both sides. Yeah.
The other thing I got to ask you about is, and the guys have certainly seen this since last March, we had the COVID crisis hit, and those were pretty tough days for you guys. You had to make a decision, and you quite literally, was it St. Patrick's Day?
Yep,
you said, okay, we're going to go all online.
But luckily, we've been doing internet bidding on our live auctions for over 20 years now, so we were prepared for it. It was a big change for us, just because that's not what we're used to doing, but we knew we could do it. We knew it wouldn't be a problem, and that's the best part about it. We just flipped a switch, went to online only. It's been far better than we ever could have guessed. The sellers are happy. It's been really good.
Thanks for that information, Matt. It's great talking with you as always. Let's go watch those 9620 RXs sell. Well, the star of the Sullivan consignment sale quickly reached $350,000, then jumped $2,000. A flurry of bidding pushed the price to $355,000. The final price is $359,000. The 2018 model quickly went to $351,000. And the final price is $355,000. Well, I'm not surprised by the final bids on today's 9620 RXs. They were both well equipped and had low hours. Now, prior to today's sale, I searched for relative pricing information about similar aged John Deere used equipment, especially 9620 RXs. Now, I went to their website at machinefinder.com. There were 52 2019 9620 RXs on dealers' lots. Their asking prices ranged from $441,000 up to $569,000. Well, that's too wide a price range for comparison. So I made use of machinefinder.com's great filtering tools and focused just on 2019 models with between 475 to 525 hours. That narrowed down my search to just 4 tractors with asking prices ranging from $447,000 up to $499,000. Now, those are realistic prices you can depend on if you happen to be bidding on a 2019 9620 RX. And what about those 2018 RXs? Well, machinefinder.com had 42 of them listed. But again, using those filters, I narrowed my search to 2018 tractors with 525 to 575 hours of similarly equipped tractors. 7 tractors popped up with asking prices ranging from $449,000 up to $468,000. Now, consider the power of that research. If you are thinking about making a high-end buy, use the internet. It can give you and your banker solid estimates when seeking his approval. Certainly, such information makes the decision to buy and replace old horsepower far more certain. For more information about Sullivan Auctioneers, you can go to their website at sullivanauctioneers.com. Well, I'm off to another sale. See you next week on Steel Deals.
Planting green, or planting into a standing cover crop, is a practice that is gaining popularity among farmers planting cover crops. It has several advantages, including having standing cover crop lap up excess spring moisture and also providing competition for early emerging weeds. Yet, there's some things that can go wrong too, as farmers still need to terminate the standing crop in order to make way for the soybeans. In this segment, Liz Stahl, University of Minnesota Extension educator, gives the pros and cons to this practice.
Yeah, one of the advantages to planting green is a key thing for cover crops in our neck of the woods is it just gives us a little bit more time to actually get some more biomass accumulation of that cover crop in the spring because the more biomass that you get, the more potential benefits you can get from that cover crop. And of course, again, all the potential benefits, we're looking at helping protect our soil from erosion, for example, contributing to soil organic matter, helping improve soil structure. And of course, also there's a potential to help, that residue could help potentially with weed control as well. So again, there's all these things are correlated to the amount of biomass that's produced. So whatever we can do to maximize or optimize the amount of biomass before we terminate that cover crop, we're going to get the most benefits from that cover crop. But there's a lot of things you need to balance with that too. It's not all, just all good things. There's risk. There's some more risk. And so it's all about managing risk. If you're planting green, you want to make sure you can terminate that cover crop before it starts to have an impact on our cash crop. For example, because we know, for example, weed scientists by nature, that's my background, we know that if you have a weed, and we can just say a plant, any plant that's out there with that crop for a long period of time, especially if it's out there right when that crop emerges, that has the greatest potential to have an impact on yield. If we don't get that out of the crop in time, there's potential for creating a green bridge with disease and insect pests too. True armyworm's an example of that. The moths come up in the spring from the south. They're attracted to grass, so if you have like a cereal cover crop, they can lay their eggs in there. Well, if you planted corn into that, for example, you terminate the cover crop, they don't have that to eat on anymore, then they're going to move to the corn. And it's not a common pest that we have typically, but we have seen issues where people that have planted green and have run into issues with that too. So again, it's just managing risk, and that creating that green bridge is a potential risk if we do plant green.
As you can see, planting green has much potential, but also requires increased management. For more information, check out Successful Farming Magazine's Soil Health Digest and Weeds Playbook for more information on these and other agronomic topics.
After these brief messages, Rob Sharkey, the shark farmer, joins us with his words of wisdom, which is often laced with his great humor. So please stay tuned.
We in agriculture are sometimes society's punching bag. It's frustrating. We get made fun of. And it's frustrating because us that live behind the curtain of how the food and fuel and fiber is made, we know how sophisticated we have to be to make that food and fuel and fiber. We know the technology that has to be used. It's incredible. Now, I grew up in the Thank a Farmer era, and it's where agriculture mainly thanked agriculture for what we did, for providing the safest food, fuel, fiber that the world has ever seen. But it didn't necessarily go over to the consumers. They didn't necessarily care. And I've been to countless ag meetings where they invite the local politicians to come up and they say, I'm so happy to be here because I support farmers. I ate today. I support farmers. And really, when you look at their voting record, all they've ever done was vote the party line. I'm sorry, I'm a little jaded. This past election year has drove me insane with all these political commercials. Recently, on one of my podcasts, the What the Farm podcast with my co-host Leslie Kelly, we interviewed the Chief Marketing Officer of Burger King. We wanted to talk to him about a commercial they did where they had a bunch of kids singing about the atrocities of cows living on the planet Earth. One of my takeaways from that interview was him saying how wonderful it was that everybody was represented well in that commercial. All the nationalities, all the ethnicities, everybody was represented fantastically. Well, everybody was, except for one. The farmer in there was made fun of. And that's what he didn't get. He just pushed it off as a joke. Oh, it was a joke, it was funny. What they did was they said how people were raising beef was wrong, and they also made fun of farmers themselves. But yet that was acceptable to them. This is absolutely frustrating to everybody in agriculture. It just reinforced the stereotype that we get to be the punching bags all the times with these national campaigns. But what do we do about it? Do we have some big national campaign led by one of our national farm groups? Because all that does is perpetuate it. Even as farmers are talking to Burger King, the message is that the cows are bad for the environment and somehow they're going to save the world by feeding lemongrass to them. It's just not the case. And it's unfortunate that we're on the defensive instead of the offense when it comes to this. I think one of the main things to do is to take our business elsewhere. My name is Rob Sharkey. If you want to see more of what I do, go to sharkfarmer.com. If you want to see more stuff like this, go to agriculture.com/TV or go to Successful Farming's YouTube.
Please join us next week for what will be another outstanding show. Have you ever improvised a repair, fashioned a homemade tool, or created a shop get by and make do? Then you'll appreciate next week's shop hacks. And then I head to auction to cover one of the best deals in agriculture today, used combines. Gil Gullickson joins us with another Weeds Playbook. Next week, Gil will be talking about how to put down pigweed and for good. And we feature some great farmer-tested tools on the Product Testing Report. All that and more next week right here on Successful Farming. Hi, I'm Dave Mowitz. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit subscribe right here if you haven't already, and click that little bell right here to be notified when we post a new video. And click here to see more great episodes from Successful Farming Television.